It's still out there. Good morning. We are going to go ahead and start. The video is just a little over 45 minutes, and so want to get that going as quickly as possible. I'd like to welcome you to our Ministry Fair 2021. Last year with COVID, Jared preached that Sunday and was walking through the foyer. And if you remember that sermon, this year, in light of still trying to keep somewhat of a concern for COVID issues, we decided not to do the tables. But we want you to see ministries that are a part of this church. And as Jared's preached on this morning, here's an opportunity, if you are not involved, to consider some ministries. So I'm going to stop at this point and just say, welcome to Ministry Fair 2021.
Now, what do you see as the purpose of your ministry, or why is it important?
Well, there's the ministers themselves, and with the building the size it is, they don't have time to look after those things, and it's the responsibility of the membership to look after those. And you know, I'm no finished carpenter or anything, but with a little bit of electrical or doorknobs, changing light ballast, and now without ballast with the LEDs. The baptistry, hopefully it's working and warm. And then today we installed an ice machine. So
Yeah. Well, and not only do we have a big building, but we have a lot of community use.
yes, I think that one thing that's coming up or talked about today was a couple times a year to have a little so-called work days. We need to clean up the garage,
Yes.
move some things around, and it gives it's an opportunity for the men and women and older children to get together to know one another better.
Yeah.
You get 8 or 10 folks, you can do 2 or 3 days work in about half a day. So.
Yeah. What do you enjoy the most about working with the building custodial ministry?
Just making sure that things are there for people, getting to know another deacon or elder better.
Yeah.
And we talk and share things, and it's a good,
Share life?
Yes, yes.
That's great.
So,
What challenges does your ministry bring?
as far as challenges upcoming, we're going to need to do a good stripping and waxing of our family center and the kitchen.
So some of those types of jobs, what are some other ways where people can get involved, or what types of things could this ministry use people's help in doing?
There are times when we're coming up to maybe a funeral dinner or our Thanksgiving dinner is help setting up tables, chairs, or taking them down.
If they sign up, say on a day like today, or a day like when we're seeing this video for Ministry Fair, and they sign up for building and custodial, then they might be getting a call like about a work day or something when
Yes.
they're doing some jobs, odds and ends. And sometimes I'm assuming you can use certain skills, but other times it's just needing extra hands and
Right.
people.
We can use everybody. On the work days, it's going to be, a family affair as far as I'm concerned. Not only inside, but we can get out and do the grounds. That's another group, but it's still yet the building.
Right.
And
Well, we know that the way our building looks and the first impression that people have of it reflects on not only the church, but it reflects on Christ ultimately. And so
Yes.
we appreciate all that you do to make our church
Well.
work well and look good. As a way of introduction, why don't you tell us your name, your spouse's name, what ministry you oversee in the church?
My name is Kristen Steele, and I'm the children's director here at Miami. And I've been here 9 years. and I'm married to Gary Steele.
Tell us a little bit about how you see the purpose of your ministry.
One of the overarching themes that I have, if you walk into Creation City, you'll see a big banner, and it says we aren't just babysitting, we're building a foundation. And so that definitely is what the direction I want the ministry to go to or go towards, is building that foundation of having a relationship with Jesus.
That's awesome. And it starts when they're young?
When they're babies. I just think it would be so cool if from the very first time that they came to our nursery that they heard about Jesus. And there are 936 weeks from the time that they're born until the time they graduate that they will be in church on those. That's how many weeks that we have to impact them. And it sounds like a lot, but it goes by so quick.
What do you really enjoy the most about your ministry?
Probably the kids who are making decisions for Christ. That's the joy and the whole, goal for me, to just see them walking with the Lord and coming alongside parents, because obviously, it's kind of a miracle that we have Christians even with the little amount of time that they go to church, and yet it's the parents' influence that really, and so my job, I feel, is to come alongside those parents and to teach them and help them and encourage them and to show the kids how to walk with the Lord.
It's a real partnership there where you can give parents the tools that they need to talk to their kids or whatever. That's awesome. I love that. Well, what challenges does your ministry bring?
Probably the volunteers. It's just hard to recruit, but then it's also hard to maintain. And, it's not just like I need a few teachers. I have 3 hours that I need teachers and volunteers to help in various opportunities to do that. But when you don't have all the volunteers, it makes it challenging.
So at any given time on a Sunday morning, this is not one of the questions that I've told you I would ask, but at any given time on a Sunday morning, how many volunteers are helping all at once? Ballpark.
I want to say 36 is what I have each Sunday.
Okay.
And that's including greeting, that's including running sound, and all of those areas, not just teachers and Sunday school teachers.
Well, what needs would you say your ministry has the most?
Volunteers.
Volunteers.
Yeah.
Just coming back to that.
Sure. And the volunteers that we need, like I said before, the greeting, and that it's not difficult even if you don't know technology or computers, and so just getting the volunteers for both services, and hopefully one day for that third service or the first service. And but we need them, before and after, and we want to make sure that they're secure in that area. So greeting is very important. And then teaching, we have teachers helpers if you don't want to necessarily lead. We need sound people to run, in the power zone. I'm always short on that. We need a praise team. Some of my littles are stepping up, and it's neat to watch them lead and worship, but I'd love to get some adults in there to help with that too.
There are needs that you have on a weekly basis, and then there's some that you're going to need some more help this summer too, and we'll be talking about that in the next few weeks, I'm sure. But thank you so much, Kristen, for all you do for our church and our children's ministry. You're a valuable asset to our church.
Thank you.
So being in the office throughout the week, one of the things that we do here at the church is also, hosting funerals and then providing a meal for our families and for them to be able to spend time with their loved ones in a difficult time, find strength in their grief. And by doing that, our church is able to provide a meal. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what have you been encouraged by as you've seen that ministry take shape?
We have some very, very strong, caring servants in our church. We've got a good team that works to put together the meal. Sometimes it's a day or two notice. It's a last minute getting it together, and we feed as many as 100 people.
Yeah.
And to be able to provide a place big enough for a lot of them, they have family coming in from states away, be able to provide somewhere that they can come and just eat together, have a place big enough to accommodate everybody and to provide that forum.
What different ways can people get involved?
The biggest thing is if you want to cook something for the meal, we do a variety of meals depending on who it is, how many we're going to be serving. A lot of times we will do fried chicken from Marvin's, and we'll have sides and desserts to go with it. Sometimes we'll do sandwiches if it's going to be a more casual time for the family. We'll make sandwiches, baked beans, chips. So providing food, providing desserts, especially homemade, it makes a special touch. If it's when we've got these home cooked potato dishes and all this home cooked food to provide for this family. But then to come serve and help. And I know work schedules are hard. A lot of it is during the day when most of us are at work.
Yeah.
But to even just come on your lunch hour and help serve, to help set up, clean up.
So gift of hospitality, but then also just willing people to come and help stir some beans or,
Yes.
get
Well,
it out.
and a lot of them are ones that have a connection to our church, and so some of these people, I mean, they know their families, so to be out there and talking with them,
Yeah.
and meeting some of their extended family that's never been here before,
Yeah.
and to just show them, I mean, FCC is a family, and this is what we do, and so to be able to share that with people that don't know us, that gives us a moment to be our light for our community and for families when they need it.
For sure. So they could, indicate that on the form here, but they could also just call the church or maybe by Sunday school class if they're providing a meal, then
Yes,
ask.
a lot of our Sunday school classes, if they're a member of it or if it's a family member that's related to somebody in that class, they're the ones that will head it up. If it is not somebody related to a class, we've got several that jump in and put it together, and we just make it happen. If you're interested, obviously sign up on the sheet or just call me, and I keep a list of who all we need, and
Okay.
that's who we get in touch with.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, tell us what you see as the purpose of your ministry. What's the bigger picture?
It's inviting. When people see that you take care of your facilities and your grounds, they tend to think you take care of everything correctly. So
Yeah,
it's a good first impression for a lot of people.
perfect. What do you enjoy or appreciate the most about your ministry?
Oh, hanging out with the guys. I mean, me and Chip are on one crew and get to hang out. So we pushed a lot of snow this year. So
Yeah.
we haven't done that in a while.
No. That's one thing about ours. Our jobs around here always seem to be based on or around the weather. So we're either trying to cut yards in between the rain or right after a snowstorm. It's real nice because we can pick up the phone and make a text real quick to a group. And normally within 30 minutes to an hour, on the snow side of it, we can have 10 to 20 people here. So a lot of volunteers. We're pretty far stretching. We include a lot of people in our ministry, so it's nice.
What are some of the challenges that this ministry brings?
Scheduling's probably one of the bigger ones. We try to involve as many as we can, always have room for more people to join in, but it's pretty neat. We got a lot of dedicated people, members here on our group that
Yeah,
glad to help anytime they can.
that's great. So what kind of needs do you have as a ministry?
I'd say more people make light work. So it'd be easier if we had a whole lot of people doing it.
A lot of people like to mow, like to ride lawnmowers. There's not a lot of people that like to swing a weed eater, so
Yeah.
a lot of times we can always use different people to help with
Okay.
weed eating or edging, maybe picking flowers out of the weeds out of the flower beds. Just
Yeah.
anytime you see the need, jump in and help.
Yeah. So you don't have to own a big riding lawnmower or
No,
anything.
No.
None, if you want to do it and you don't have one,
Holler. We'll
just-
put you
yeah,
on one.
We'll put you on one. So,
We've got a few we can loan.
That's great. How can people get involved? What are some of the different ways?
just get a hold of one of us or about anybody in the church would know who to go to, and we'll be glad to help you.
So we just have a schedule that we all follow. It's about every month we rotate in and out. So
Okay.
you're not doing all the mowing every week, anything like that.
So whether it's picking up trash, mowing, edging, pulling weeds in the flower gardens, then
Help, any help would be appreciated. The only thing we ask is if you mow, let us know beforehand so we can at least try to work you into the schedule.
yeah. Well, that's a great ministry and one that you guys have, again, represented the church well and given everybody a great first impression, so thank you for what you do. So how many years have you been working in the library ministry at the church?
25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy personally about serving in the library?
Oh, probably meeting the people.
Yeah.
I have got to meet so many interesting people and out in the community, you know,
Yeah.
not just the members of church. The ladies that volunteer with me, we have such good fellowship.
What challenges come from serving in the library?
The biggest challenge for me is finding the correct material that they're wanting to read.
Right.
I like to leave a sheet of paper there on the desk for them to write down what they would like to
Okay.
order. And that way I feel like I know it's going to be read.
Yeah.
And maintaining the library shelf. I hate to throw away books so badly. And
Yeah.
so, but they won't hold everything you need.
Right.
It comes in, so you have to maintain it and
Yeah.
keep it.
Well, it's a big, nice library, but still, there's only so many shelves.
Right. I think we have a circulation of about 1,500 books in there.
The library.
We're needing some volunteers.
Okay. Yeah.
I think this last year with the virus, it slowed everybody down, particularly me and the women that work in the library, and not getting to come down and be
Yeah.
there to maintain it and order for what people need. And so we need volunteers, and there's always need for money, you know, to
Purchase
keep it-
new books and-
yeah.
And I noticed that outside of the library, there are some books that people can take for a donation and
Yes.
do that sometimes
That's
as well.
one way we maintain the library shelf is anything that hadn't been read for 5 or 6 years, we take it off the shelf
Yeah.
and mark through, void it, and take it off the
Yeah.
computer inventory, and
Yeah.
they sell it for a donation. And if they don't donate, that's okay too.
Right. Yeah. And what kinds of skills would they need to help in the library?
Just be willing to come in and volunteer, and there's no set schedule, no set hours, no set time. We teach them what they need to do, like wrapping the covers of the book
Yeah.
and typing up the cards for the hard copies.
So in the library, you have all the books, but then you have some archives as well, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's so important for anyone to be able to come into the church and find out if a family member, when they might have had births, weddings, deaths, all of that.
Baptisms.
Yes,
Yeah.
baptisms, yes. And we've got lots of pictures. And all that information's in the computer, and it should be easily drawn up. Anybody wants to ask questions about it.
Yeah. Well, I sincerely say thank you for what you do, because we really do have a great library, and we thank you for all the years that you've committed to make that possible. Tell us something that you enjoy or appreciate about serving in the missions ministry.
I enjoy serving on the missions committee with the people that are on there. We have good people serving on the missions committee. We can always use more. And I really enjoy meeting the missionaries when they're here.
The diversity. I mean, we've got local missions, we've got foreign missions, we have evangelistic style missions, we have and support like Salvation Army, which really isn't evangelistic per se, what they do, but it's more of a helping people in need. And of course, having various missionaries in lots of different places gives us a broader perspective on God's church worldwide. You know, sometimes we get locked into what's going on right here at First Christian in Miami, when God's church is so much bigger.
What challenges come with being a part of the missions ministry at First Christian Church?
We're in the central time zone, so sometimes if you're trying to communicate with somebody, if they're a foreign missionary, they won't have the same time zone. Some people are really good at getting back to you in an email or maybe a text, but other people, you might not hear from them for a while.
There are so many needs, you know, and trying to do the best with what we have.
Right.
You know, how can we meet the best needs?
Yeah.
Because we have limited resources, and that can become a challenge.
What are some of the needs that you have as a ministry that could be met by our church?
We have a missions board, you know, there in the hallway, and right now we could really use a really creative person that is good at putting information out in a very attractive and attention-getting way. We can always use, like I said, more people to help with communication.
I would just say more people to be involved. You know, the more people you have, the more ideas, and more people you can, sometimes we write letters, more that could do that. But we can always use more prayer, especially for our missionaries. And so coming to the missions committee meeting, you are more aware of some of those prayer needs, and also prayers for us, is like you said, as you try to make good decisions on things.
Yeah. As they volunteer, then you're saying that they could be a part of the committee, they could come and help with special projects like a board or the PowerPoint on the TV out in the foyer. Any other ways that people could get involved?
There's always short-term mission trips.
Right.
You know, and if any of those come up,
Yeah.
Again, I'd highly encourage anybody to go.
And I would guess that from someone that wants to get involved in something but maybe can't travel or things like that, then we might be able to help them through the committee too, to know what opportunities here in our community could be with some of the missions even that we support.
Absolutely.
A missions committee in a church is such not only a key role, but a window into the heart of a church. And we are grateful for all that you all do to share that heart and to represent us to our missionaries as well. Well, tell us your name and then your spouse's name and what ministry you oversee.
Okay, I'm Brenda Evans, and my husband is Bob Evans. I am the leader of the quilting ministry.
Okay. So now, just by way of explanation, then, these quilts are meant to encourage people to pray, right? That
Right.
maybe didn't make the quilt, but you are praying throughout the process of making the quilt.
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
We don't always know who's going to get that quilt, but yes,
Yeah.
that's what we do.
That's cool. And so then even after a quilt is made, then other people can still be a part of your ministry. In what way?
Absolutely. We usually make the quilts at home, the quilt tops, and then we bring it in and we do a process called sandwiching.
Okay.
So we put the top and then the batting and then the backing. And then some of the ladies that don't sew, they'll pin the quilt, and then some of the ladies will put in yarn.
Okay.
And that yarn is what represents the prayers when we get ready to do that.
Yeah. So you don't have to be a master seamstress.
No,
That's great.
no.
Well, tell us about the purpose. I guess it may seem obvious, but what's the purpose of your ministry in how you see it?
Well, we see it as bringing comfort to those who are in a crisis of some kind,
Yeah.
whether physical or mental or
Yeah.
anything, you know.
I was going to ask you about that. So, like in situations of loss or going through a surgery,
Right.
maybe just a difficult life circumstance,
Right.
something.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
we like to.
Well, and what a great demonstration of that, because a quilt can bring so much comfort
It can.
on a cold day,
Right.
you know, but then to know that that's backed by prayers, that's a pretty
Right.
special thing.
Very special.
So, what do you enjoy the most about your ministry?
The fellowship that we have together.
I bet.
We have wonderful fellowship and we learn from each other.
As far as other people getting involved in your ministry, how would they do that? What would that look like for someone to get involved in your ministry?
Well, what they could do is just maybe call Amanda or me, and we meet like the second Tuesday of the month,
Okay.
10 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
and just come. whether you can sew or not. If you, and some of the ladies come and they just go through our fabrics and straighten everything up. That's a ministry right there.
Yeah.
We need people to do that so that we
Right.
can do the ones that sew, we can sew.
Yeah. So really you just need availability
Right,
of people.
just be available.
Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know that as that ministry brings comfort to other people, that you're doing that in a way that represents Christ. And so we thank you so much for
Yes.
doing that and
Yes.
doing that not just in your ministry, but in your life.
Right.
So thank you so much, Brenda. Now, what do you see as the purpose or the even importance of Shepherding You?
It is our way of keeping our students that have grown up here at FCC or have made this their family home as they've gotten older. Once they go on to college and they start a new chapter of their life, it's our way to keep them connected to church, keep them connected to Christ, keep them encouraged. While they're away, encourage them to come back and see us.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see them as they're going through this new chapter, and just to be an encouragement and a hope for them.
Yeah.
Somebody that they've got connected to back at home.
They haven't been forgotten.
No.
Good. What do you enjoy or appreciate most about the ministry to college students?
I love to see the kids that we've watched grow up, especially when Joe was coaching at Miami, and the ones that we got to know now that they're in college. So to be able to have that connection with kids that we've known for years, and to still be able to have a connection with them in their new chapter.
What challenges does this ministry bring?
Keeping it over the distance. It's easy when they're here at NEO or if they're doing online. But as they move away, they aren't able to come back as often. Things change. They move into new apartments, new dorms, and just keeping that connection with them.
Yeah. What kinds of needs does Shepherding You have?
We need shepherds.
Okay.
We need people that want to invest in these students. Here recently, we've lost a few, and we have some that have multiple shepherds. And this way we could, if we have more people, we can make it more personal. You don't have as many. We don't want to leave any of our kids out.
Yeah.
And just to have somebody, we put together care packages 4 times a year, twice a semester. It can be candy, school supplies, notebooks, pencils, gift cards. One time we did a devotional book, just a little something to keep them encouraged, give them a little something fun. We bring in donations with that with our group and lay it all out in the fellowship hall, put together packages, and we mail them or hand them to them if we have them still here.
Yeah. And financially, you could always use that for supplies.
We mail a vast majority of ours, and it costs anywhere between $4 and $8 per package to mail.
Okay.
And so between that and the gift cards, we do have several shepherds that will bring in, they'll donate their own money to go towards their packages. They will bring in supplies, but anything that doesn't get covered, which is a good chunk of it, we cover it.
So how can people get involved?
Fill out this sheet, and we will get in touch with you. We are finishing up this semester, so we'll be starting a new school year in August, and we'll get you plugged in. We'd love to get you a kid, and as a college student, I guess they're not kids anymore, but it's not a long time commitment. We only meet 4 times a year for usually one Wednesday night.
Okay.
So
So quarterly, basically, through a school year.
Yep.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you so much for reaching out to our college students and making them feel connected to us.
thank you.
I'm George Marshall. My wife's name is Debbie, and I'm in shut-ins. We do shut-ins. Larry Cruz and I mostly.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you see the purpose or the importance of your ministry being.
I think the importance of our ministry is that we try to make people feel like they're still part of the church. You know, even when they can't come back to church, we want them to know that the church still cares about them, and we're trying to make them feel better about not being able to come, you know, some of them.
Yeah. What are your favorite parts of being involved in the shut-in ministry?
We get to meet people that you don't usually know sometimes because they've You may have seen them before, but you don't get a chance to just really sit down and talk to them and find out what they need to be prayed about or things like that. And that's the kind of things we try to do, and take communion to them, make them feel like they're still part of the church.
What are some of the challenges of doing that ministry?
Well, right now, COVID is a big challenge because you just can't go and visit, you know.
What types of needs do you have in your ministry?
Well, we can always use more people because there's lots of people, and the more people they get to talk to, the more they feel like they're part of the church still.
And if people would want to get involved in doing letters or phone calls or things like that, then you could really use anybody, right?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, we just make a list and give them a list, and they can just call whoever they like and visit with them or send them a card. People are always nice to get cards because it makes people think they haven't been forgotten.
Yeah. To be able to offer prayer is something that is not aggressive, but it's, you know, a supporting, encouraging type.
And also communion. They're all glad when you bring communion with you. They really are. It seems like I don't always tell them, but you know, before I leave, I ask them if they'd like to take communion because I take one with me, just to be sure.
Yeah. Now, do you do very much at the time of communion with them? Do you read a scripture or just pray, or?
We just kind of pray.
Pray through it.
That's what I do usually.
Good. And so it doesn't take someone with a theology degree to take communion with someone. They can come and care about them and listen and pray for them.
And I think that's the biggest part of our ministry, is just going and listening and caring about them.
Yeah. Well, and I'm guessing that if someone's watching this video and they're watching from home, even in an online format, that if they would appreciate a visit like that and they're not able to get out, then they could call the church office and probably
set one up with Larry or I1 or whoever.
Yeah, well, that's great. What is the purpose you see of your ministry?
What I do is the soundboard, a little bit on the video screens, and just taking care of that, assisting with the services, making sure the sound is right and the video is there.
And what's the importance of that for our church?
Well, of course, it fills in the service. I mean, we don't, right now we don't have hymnals out, so if the words aren't there, people aren't singing. So, and then making sure everybody can, of course, hear and see what they need to see and hear.
Yeah.
If they don't notice me, that's perfect. It means I've done my job well, because I don't want them to hear squealing and the words not being on the screen. We don't want that to happen, so it takes away from the service.
So if everyone turns around and looks, then something went wrong.
Not good.
Awesome. Well, what do you enjoy or appreciate the most about your ministry?
Just being able to provide that. I mean, just being able to support the ministry. I'm not a get up front type of person anyway, so it's nice to be able to actually do something actively with it. And on top of that, just getting to be more friends with you and Brandon and the people that do participate.
So what challenges does it bring?
Well, of course, the biggest thing is the soundboard. There's a bit of a learning curve with that. There's lots of knobs and buttons on that that you have to learn. But it seems overwhelming, but once you get into it, it's not that big of a deal. And then the other side of it is, of course, you want to stay current with the current trends, just being able to provide what's fresh for the congregation. So.
Yeah. Now, what kind of needs does the technology ministry have right now?
We're doing okay right now, but probably I would say just maybe a few more people that we could put in rotation. Just there's not a lot of leeway for somebody not showing up, so just having an extra body or two that can help out if need be. So.
Yeah. Now, how can people get involved?
If somebody wants to help out, we can get them taught either soundboard or video or both. Like I said, it would be nice to have extra people, but just volunteer, and there's plenty of opportunity to plug them in. So.
And what kinds of skills can you use as far as, does somebody have to know, a lot? Can anybody be trained if they're willing?
Yeah, anybody can do it. I mean, it's not like I said, there is a learning curve. We definitely wouldn't just say, here's how you do it and throw you in and make you do it right off the bat. But
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely help you out. And what I did for quite a while is just sit in with one of the other people and actually kind of follow along with what they're doing, and then also have your chance to sit at the soundboard and actually do it with somebody there with you to help you out. Make sure
Yeah.
you're not going to make a major mistake. So.
For sure. And you being there on a Wednesday night gives you a chance to
Yeah, and
practice and enjoy.
I do stick around for Wednesday night practices, so and I do get the extra opportunity to run the soundboard, so
Yeah.
that's helpful. And there, it doesn't matter if you mess up. So.
True.
As much anyway.
True. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for what you do to serve our church. Tell us the purpose or the importance of your ministry.
I would say to make sure everybody feels safe in our church, and also just fellowship at the front door when people enter. I would say that would be the most part of it. So
it's definitely just to make sure that there's a safe atmosphere, you know, that our safety team's aware of what's going on, but also being a friendly face for those coming in the building.
Yeah. So an extension of our welcome committee, our welcome ministry as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, what is it that you personally enjoy the most about your ministry?
Oh, I would say the fellowship with everybody in the church.
Okay.
They know who I am now, and they know what we do, so it makes it easier. So.
Yeah.
It was a good way for me to meet some people in the church, you know, first starting with just the group of the actual safety team members, and then, you know, as being a safety team member, you get to learn the people in the church as well.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that the safety ministry brings?
Oh, well, you know, you have to have people willing to show up early, you know, check out the building.
I would say communication is the biggest part.
What needs does your ministry have?
We definitely could use a few more volunteers, and just people being aware. If they see something, say something. You know, whether it be you know, damage to the building, or somebody that's in need. You know, if somebody has a medical issue or something like that.
Yeah.
We have a plan, so just bring it to us, and we can definitely make sure people get what they need.
And what resources do you all have to try to do that, to keep everybody safe and communicate with each other and be prepared for anything?
You know, we have walkie-talkie radios that we talk to each other, communicate with each other. We also communicate with the children's groups, just in case if there was a fire in the building or something like that, we can talk directly to those people. Or if they have a need, maybe a kid's having an issue or something and they need a parent immediately, they can communicate to us. We can handle that. We have cameras around the building so that we can keep track of what's going on. You know, we normally have 2 on duty on most Sundays and Wednesdays. And so those guys show up and they check out the building, and usually we make sure that we have somebody out in front at all times when people are, you know, coming and going. We have people that watch the parking lots, things like that.
Well, thank you so much for keeping us safe and for looking out for our needs. And I love the way that your ministry sometimes takes care of things before it even gets to us. And by the time we hear about it, it's already taken care of. And so that helps us to minister in the ways that God has called us to do as well. So thank you for what you do. What do you see as the purpose or the importance of your ministry?
Well, simply to keep the vehicles running and the maintenance kept up with them, to keep them clean as possible and ready for camp when the kids go to camp, etc.
Okay. Well, what do you enjoy or appreciate about your ministry?
Well, number one, I don't know a whole lot about vehicles, so I'm learning more as I do this. I'm also appreciating the fact that I'm learning more about the particular vehicles involved, the people mover and the 2 vans, etc. So.
Okay. What are some of the challenges with
Well, the challenge is that right now, when they gave me this ministry, I wasn't provided a deacon, so I had to ask another elder, Bruce Tippett, and he helped me. But it's really a two-person deal at any time. If you take a van to be serviced, you need somebody to bring you back, and without trying to bother the staff, et cetera, and so forth. So it's something to where it's helpful if you have somebody to help you clean it out or whatever. And then you can agree together what needs to be done or whatever.
Well, before we talk about your needs, I know that just having you staying on top of the maintenance is a disciplined schedule thing as much as anything. And I know for us staff, it helps to have someone that we know is keeping an eye on it. So thank you.
I'm trying to.
That's good. What needs does your ministry have?
I could use some personnel that would, want to help clean or transport the vehicles or whatever.
Yeah, like to the shop and back and things like that.
Right.
Okay, and so you're not necessarily looking for someone that can overhaul an engine.
No. Don't want
So anybody from any skill level could help you.
If I can do this, anybody can. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Whether it's driving a vehicle, whether it's helping to clean it out of some trash, there's probably a few times a year when it's more important that you're staying on top of it, or where the needs are more.
Right. Well, there's also keeping up with the tags and when they need to be taken, need to go down to the tag office to get the tag reissued or whatever. So it's just keeping an eye on it, and we've got 2 maintenance logs. I think we need to make a 3rd one for the people mover, but other than that, we're good.
And so just more people, more than anything, to give you a hand.
Yeah, somebody willing to come help clean, and it's just something that we need to coordinate.
Yeah, so they can see you about that or call the church office, fill out their form and join in.
You bet.
Cool. Well, Bill, thank you for all that you do for helping that ministry and getting our kids and our other people where they're going safely. What is it that you feel like is the overall overarching purpose in the Welcome Greeting Ministry?
Well, it's to make people feel glad to be here. I think it's very important that when they come to the door, someone is there to let them know that they're important.
What is it that you enjoy most about serving in that way?
After we started up again after the COVID shutdown, it was so good to see people, and even still, every Sunday, it seemed like somebody comes that you haven't seen in a year, and it's just so happy to see them.
What challenges does a Welcome and Greeting Ministry bring?
Well, the main thing now is the COVID, really hurt us in the amount of help we have. And when we came back, a lot of people on our teams did not come back, and some of them did, but they didn't want to greet. And the social distancing thing has been a problem, and I hope we have always been respectful of people's wishes on that, because it kind of is a personal thing to some of us that the shaking hands and hugging and all that doesn't happen. And a few people, very few, do, but most people, with the COVID, when we came back, and it still exists, want to keep their distance, and that's okay. We respect that. But the main thing now is getting our teams back. We got 4 teams, and they're by the month, so each team only has every 4 months. And if we get enough people signed up, which we have had in the past, you only have maybe 2-3 Sundays every 4 months that you have to do a greeting.
What kinds of people usually serve and do the best with Welcome Ministry?
I don't know. Try it. I'll bet you whoever you are, you'll be good at it.
Yeah. So the prerequisites is you have to be able to smile.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
say
that'd
hello.
be nice. Yeah. Breathe and smile.
Say
hi.
Breathe and smile.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if people wanted to get involved in your ministry, you have places that you could put them in right away.
Well, and we can give people choices, if we need people at the front door and you're not comfortable with that, why, you can be inside and So, we have different places we can put people.
Let's transition then and talk a little bit about hospitality outreach.
Okay.
Then, what would you see as the importance of that ministry, or what's the purpose of it?
Well, the main thing we do is have new member dinner. We are talking about planning one soon.
Good.
And we're glad. We've got a lot of new members that have never had one, and we again want you to feel important, and we feed you and have a little orientation to what we do and who we are and everything, and just want people to know that we're glad you're here and we're glad that you want to be a part of us.
Yeah. So people can get involved in that.
Yeah.
In what ways?
We have a sign up for people to bring food and help to serve, or either one. We need food and people to help serve.
You're involved in another ministry that happens seasonally, right around Christmas time. Tell us about that ministry.
Well, we have a really awesome team who build a float and take it to about 9 or 10 parades. The whole idea of this float is to tell people Jesus is what Christmas is.
And so for people to get involved in that ministry, obviously it's, as we said, seasonal, but you've got builders and decorators and kind of greeters that travel down the streets with you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a valuable ministry, sharing Christ in that way, and maybe one of the ministries in the church that directly goes out more than any other. We're thankful for what you do for all those ministries, representing the church, representing Christ well. And it means a lot. So keep up the good work. What would you say is the purpose or the importance of your ministry?
Well, the purpose, I would think, obviously, would be to encourage. We intentionally want people to feel loved and cared for, and to know that First Christian Church is praying for them and we care about their needs.
What do you enjoy or appreciate the most about this ministry?
I love receiving handwritten mail. So because I appreciate it, I think that person that maybe's gone a month. When you think about it, someone in a nursing home without hearing from anyone, and then they open up a card on a day that might otherwise be gloomy or sad or lonely.
Yeah.
And they open up a card, and it's from First Christian Church, and it says, we love you, we care about you, and it can be a real simple note. Sometimes it's an opportunity to reach out to someone that may be newer in our church or may feel like they're not very important. They feel like, I go to church there, but nobody knows me, and we try to send cards to people that are new to the church, to welcome them, or if we have any special needs that we know about. So I appreciate just the opportunity to bring a smile to somebody that may be just on the bubble of feeling like they don't matter.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that the card ministry brings?
Just trying to ensure that we don't overlook anyone. As you know, in the office, we don't always know the health situations with people or what their needs are, and trying to make sure that we don't miss people.
Yeah.
And trying to be timely. We meet just once a month, and so sometimes, let's just say today, we did card ministry, but before the day's over, there's a new something for which we would typically send a card. It might be a whole nother 30 days before our team gets together, and then it's pretty far out from the event. So we're kind of having to think about that and how to be more timely to a surgery or a recovery or a tragic loss or something.
What kinds of needs does your ministry have?
We can always use more people. I would say that's a big one. Some people have shied away from it because the time that we meet hasn't been good for them. And I would just say that anybody who's interested in writing cards, I will give you a list. I'll give you the cards, and you can write them anytime from home. They can be returned. Amanda will put postage on them. So it's really, that shouldn't be a barrier. If you have it laid on your heart that you would like to get more involved in encouraging others, this is a ministry that's all about that. So you can do it from home.
For sure. Tell us how people can get involved in the card ministry.
We have started meeting during the second service at 10:45 here, and we just write cards during the second service. And I don't need to know ahead of time. I mean, just show up during that time, and we'll give you some names and talk to you about, you know, what we do. Newer people, I will just say, here's something you might think about writing, and we sign it, First Christian Church Card Ministry, and I even show them, you know, how we sign the card. And
So really, not just for people that have a spiritual gift or a love language of words of affirmation, but really anyone who's willing.
yes, and we'll just take the time.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, first of all, a big thank you to all of our ministry leaders. We have a lot of great people that do a lot of great ministries around the church, and some of them you see and some of them you don't. And so a big thank you to all those ministry leaders. Also, we had a very extended amount of these interviews that we weren't able to show you today because of the time crunch trying to put it between two services. And Brandon Foster has been working hours just to get this to this time, and he has put a lot of time into this. So his family, I'm sure, has gone through that as well. We are going to try to post these videos in the extended versions online, try to get those out in the next several weeks. We may do one a week so that you'll be able to see some of the rest of it. We had some fun questions that we asked every one of those that we interviewed as well. And so you'll get to know each of those ministry leaders in a little bit better way. And the extended video is really fun. It was a fun project for us to be involved in. In fact, Brandon and I talked several times about how much we personally enjoyed getting to hear from each of our ministry leaders. And we hope that you'll have an opportunity to do that as well in the next few weeks, at seeing the extended versions of those. And so we'll try to get those out. We gave you these forms and have more of them back in the back. And this is a little different way for us to do Ministry Fair this year, where you're not going around to the different booths, and those things are fun to see, the different ones. But we hope that this opportunity lets you know a little bit more specifically about what each ministry does and how you'll get involved. Again, the extended versions will tell you even more. And our hope is that after you hear those needs, after you hear some of the things that not only that ministry does, that you would consider in your own heart, how could God use me to be involved in the ministry of this church and building the kingdom? And one thing that you would hear over and over again that I don't even think I would have to quiz you on, there's the one need that showed up every time, and it was you. We need you. And so in the ministry of this church, we've gone through an incredible season that in order for us to be involved again, in order for us to really be the church that we've had the reputation of being, we need everyone to get involved again. There have been a lot of questions about when are we going to start doing this again, and when are we going to start doing that again? When all of the church gets engaged, we need people. Right now, our first service, children's ministry is not meeting first service. Why? Because we don't have enough people. And some people have started coming to our church. I didn't realize this until the last couple of years. Some people have started coming to our first service, even from Kansas, because we have a first service children's ministry, and hardly anybody does that. I didn't know. Did you know that makes us uniquely us? But we need people to help do that again. And so that's one of the ways. And whenever we all get involved, listen, there are a lot of people that were here at first service and they left, and that's okay. But we need you. And maybe we need you to grab somebody else by the hand and say, come on, let's do this together. And God can use you in big ways. You don't have to have, again, a degree. You don't have to have expertise in a lot of things. We need willing people to be engaged and involved in the life of the church, and we hope that you will. As you have this form, you can take that and give it to the people at the back door whenever you leave, or you can bring it to the church office. If you want to pray about it for a little bit, maybe watch some more of the extended videos, you can. But we really want you to be involved, and we hope that you will. Can I pray to close us? Lord, we know that we need to, as a church, be active, that you're going to use us in big ways whenever we serve selflessly. We pray that as a church that we could engage our community, Lord, that we could give and love and serve joyfully from our hearts. So God, we pray that you would help us to do that, and that we might honor you. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. We've got a few minutes before our second service, so we hope you'll fill out a form. And thanks again for staying for our ministry fair.